Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of the Murphy's Law Podcast. Good night to all of you. Good morning, wherever you are. I'm in South Florida, so it's 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but I definitely know it's probably morning somewhere in the world, and it's afternoon somewhere else, and it's evening somewhere else. So, hello to all of you. Thank you for joining the Murphy's Law Podcast. For those of you that get it through Spotify and Apple Podcast and wherever you stream your podcast, I appreciate your support. And always from my live Facebook audience and YouTube audience, thank you for being in here. Thank you for supporting the Murphy's Law Podcast. I'm Stephane Murphy, and we're going to do it a little bit different tonight. For the next couple weeks, our topic is going to be fatherhood. I'm going to have a panel of men, fathers, husbands join me on the podcast, and we're going to have some real candid discussions about manhood, about fatherhood, about the challenges, about the successes, about our failures, about our perseverance, a slew of topics, which is for everybody, definitely for men and fathers and boys, but it's also important for wives and moms and everybody else to see and hear. So I encourage you to share the podcast. I encourage you to share it on Facebook, share it on YouTube. If you have not already subscribed to the Murphy's Law podcast on YouTube, I ask you to do so. It's real simple. You go to YouTube, www.youtube.com/the @ Murphy's Law Podcast, and you subscribe. Of course, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, Murphy's Law _podcast. How are you all doing? It's Wednesday. We're halfway to the weekend. Of course, I want to be the first to mention what's happening this Sunday. Really, really special day. One of the many special days out of the year. But this Sunday is Mother's Day. And I want to say Happy Mother's Day to all of the amazing mothers out there. We appreciate you. We appreciate your sacrifice. We appreciate all you do. We appreciate all that you are. And we plan to celebrate you. And so here, my family, we're planning to celebrate the mothers in our family and in our lives. And I pray you do the same. But mothers, you are special. Mothers, you are loved. You're absolutely needed as well. And so, happy Mother's Day to you. You heard it here at the Murphy's Law Podcast first. You heard it here first. Happy Mother's Day. Enjoy your day. However, tonight, I want to give a message to all the fathers. And also, it's an invitation for you to join me and some other men over the next several weeks on becoming better men, better fathers, better husbands, better husbands. Uh, we're needed. We are important. And I know we go through a lot as men, and we experience a lot, and we feel a lot. And sometimes we're taught to suppress because of society and because of ignorance, really. But we really are important. And so tonight, I want to first issue a challenge, a summons, even a plea, a real earnest ask of all the fathers. We need you to be present. We need our fathers to step up to the plate. We need our fathers, wherever you may be, however many children you may have. We need you. You are absolutely important, and you matter. And so I want to take the time tonight to really help you understand your importance as a dad, the significance of you in your child's life, the significance of that relationship with your son or daughter or both, and how it impacts our society, how it impacts their future, how it impacts our world. Fathers, men, we are necessary. And there's a lot required of us. But God wouldn't allow us to be men if we couldn't do it. So we know all the challenges that are there, and we'll talk about those. We'll talk about the challenges, we'll talk about the fears, we'll talk about all of that in the next coming weeks. But I want you to know tonight that you can do it. You are more than capable. Maybe nobody's ever told you that before. Maybe nobody's ever expressed belief in you. Maybe nobody's ever given you confidence. Maybe you didn't have that type of relationship with your father. And I understand how difficult and strenuous that can be, and how hard that can be to navigate your emotions and your choices. However, it's not by chance that you're hearing this podcast tonight, or you may be even watching live. And I'm here to tell you that I believe in you as a fellow father, and one that started out pretty young. I believe in you. You can do it. So, Father, let's talk about your significance, and then I want to share with you all something really cool, I think, that I did, and then I'll invite you to do it as well. But we'll do that towards the end of the podcast, and we'll see how it goes. And I'm really excited about that. But fathers, hey, you need to be present. Simply stating, but it's very powerful, very, very profound. Your presence is necessary for the development of your child. Your presence is necessary for the security of your child, for the well being of your child. Fathers, you need to be present. A lot of times, what happens is we have mom and dad. Sometimes the relationship between mom and dad goes sour. The romance isn't there anymore. You quote unquote fall out of love, or things happen, and we allow the broken relationship between mom and dad to affect us. Some allow it to affect us as fathers. And so the child or children, they suffer for what you have, or issues you may have with mom, with their mother, with the lack of communication, or whatever the difficulties are. The child suffers. But I want to encourage you tonight, fathers, that not you should not allow any external circumstance to cause you to be absent as a father, to fall short as a father. There's nothing that excuses us from being there. And life happens to everybody. So I completely understand the challenges that may happen. We have fathers that have to deal with very vindictive and evil mothers of their children. That's a reality, and we'll talk about that. And that's a very real thing, and something that has to be navigated. And we'll talk about tips and ways that we can go through that. However, it's not an excuse to be absent from the lives of our children. They need our presence. You know, a child's emotional and physical security really hinges a lot, or a large part of that comes as a result of the presence and active presence of their father. When I say active presence, I highlight that because it's not enough just to be around. Well, I'm here every day, or I'm in the house, but you have to be active. You have to be involved. You have to talk with them. Spend time with your child. Show them different emotions. Show them how to, exemplify different things. They need to see you in different aspects, different scenarios, different situations. So it's not enough just to be present. It's important, but there needs to be more. You need to be active. You need to be hands on, if I could put it that way. I remember when my sons were born, all I know is I had to be a part. Everything that was going on, I needed to be a part of it. And so, since the day they were born, I was changing diapers, I was wiping poop, I was getting peed on, I mean, the whole nine. And I really didn't think anything of it. I'm like, yo, this is how it should be. I'm like, there is no other way that it should be. However, I got a lot of responses or people saying, I really appreciate you and what you're doing as a father. Or some people say, I'm really surprised how hands on, how involved you are. And I was like, wait, every father is not like this. Like everybody's not changing diapers. And I would hear stories and, just some crazy stories. And I'll share some of those later. However, it was very, very important for me to be involved. And fathers, it's important for us to be involved. Your child's security, your child's um, confidence, their identity, how they see themselves, the confidence that they walk around with, both for sons and daughters, is very, very important. And there is nobody that can fill that void. I don't care who it is. There's nobody that can replace you as a father. And so if you've ever been in a position where you have been made to feel like you're not important, you're not significant for whatever reason, if you thought that on your own, I want to change that narrative, that perspective tonight. Man, you are important because there is only one you. That child, those children, they only got one daddy, and that's you, and nobody else can have the effect like you can. Of course, there are uncles, there are mentors, there are others that can be around and help and encourage. I'm not saying that that can't happen. That definitely can and does happen. But as a father, there's something that God puts inside of you. There's an impact. There is a connection that God puts inside of you that's so vital for your child. And no broken relationship, no difficult financial situation should ever stop you from being present and for providing that security. You telling them you love them, you telling them that you are there for them, you showing up for their football games, their baseball games, for the plays that they do. If they have to sing in a play or act in a theater dramatic piece, whatever it is, show up, be there, take them to the park, walk with them, throw them in the air, take them to the beach, go to the pool, go fishing. I mean, all of that is so significant for a child's development. And you will find, even statistically, that the percentage of children that goes through legal troubles or even go through the system, such as juvenile centers and jail, it drastically falls off. The percentage is much, much lower when the father has been present. So, fathers, what am I saying to you tonight? It's a very direct, straightforward, simple, but profound message and ask. Be present, be active, Be involved. Talk to your children. And if you don't have all the money in the world, that's okay. If you don't have everything together, and if your life isn't where you want it to be, you can still work on that. But that doesn't stop you from being a father, a great father. Do what you are able to do until you can do all that you want to do. You may not be able to fly them across the world right now. You may not be able to give them $10,000, $15,000, but you can take them for ice cream. You can sit and tell them how brilliant they are, how beautiful she is, how intelligent he is, his future. Tell them about his lineage. Talk to them about where they come from, the strengths in this line, this whatever your last name may be. So I talk to my sons about the Murphy lineage, what comes through, and our gifts, our abilities, our talents. All of this helps because when they begin to get into their adolescent years and their teenage years, they won't need the gang to define them. They won't need a girl or a boy or whoever to define them. They won't need the temporary satisfaction of drugs, alcohol to fill the void of an absent father. Fathers, you are needed and we need you to be present. I'll say it again. Be present and be active. Your relationship with your children really dictates how they are going to interact with others. Fathers, your sons start out wanting to be like you. They want to talk like you. They want to dress like you. They want to do what you do. I want to be a musician. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a basketball player like my dad. I want to have long hair like my dad. I want to be strong like my dad. Sons look at you and they want your approval. Sons look at you and they need your approval. They need your affirmation. They need you to say, son, I love you. They need you to say, son, you're so brilliant. They need you to say, son, you're so good at that. Or son, you can do it. I know you may be struggling in this area. I know you may be struggling on whatever, that subject, but you can do it. You're brilliant. They need you. I'm reading from my Spotify listeners and Apple Podcast listeners. I'm seeing some comments here from the live viewers, and it's funny. It's very, very funny. Arisha, I love you, even down to the top button. That's funny. So I'll share the inside. It's not an inside joke, really, but I like to button my shirts all the way up to the top, and I have twin boys, and one sometimes will do it, and the other sometimes will do it. They pick and choose when they do it. However, they want to be like their dad. And so, more than just dressing nice and providing clothes for them and them looking good, I still have to teach them and be present for them in their character and how I carry myself and what I instill in them. So, fathers, you are absolutely, absolutely necessary. Your fathers, I'm talking to you. The way you treat your children is how you're teaching others to treat them. And if you give them abuse, they'll accept abuse. And if you are absent, they're going to look for you in other relationships, other people, other substances, even. I mean, the things that they can get into the possibilities are endless, but so dangerous for them. Father, your daughters need you. The abuse that they accept or reject is dependent on you, Father. It's dependent on you, Dad. When you teach your daughter how she should be treated, how she should be talked to, how she should be loved and cared for, and attended to, and you give her and build her security. It's just some things you won't have to worry about. That little young boy that think he knows a lot and think he can woo her with some words is going to quickly find out that she's really established in security and love and identity because her daddy was present and active and loving her. Fathers, you are necessary. From very young ages, children begin to develop a pattern of friendships or behaviors and attitudes in their relationships, and that carries on into their adult life. And our absence can really set off a chain reaction of bad relationship after bad relationship after bad relationship into their 20s and 30s. So we are responsible, and it is necessary, and really by God's design and his instincts he put in us as fathers, we are demanded to be present. We need you. You need to be here. Before I share this next part, which I think is so amazing, I want to say for the next couple weeks again, we will talk about all the different challenges we face as men and fathers and husbands and all of that. And so I invite you to come back. I invite you to tell others about it. Tell everybody you know to come listen to the Murphy's Law podcast because we're going to have some really vulnerable, some open, some candid, real conversations. Probably things you've never heard men say before. You'll hear things that men think that you probably never knew. You might think you're the only father dealing with something. And what I've found in life is there's somebody somewhere dealing with something worse. They have a tougher situation. So the truth is, another father can't handle what you can, while you can't handle what another father could. So we all need each other. But you are necessary and you can be present. And your mistakes that you have made don't define you. They really can be a stepping stone to continuously become a better father, a more effective father. However, our children need us. They grow up hurt, they grow up lost, or can when we are absent. They grow up with anger, they grow up with resentment, possibly, and so many other things when we are not present. And so we can't make excuses for not being who we should be. Life happens, things happen, but that doesn't give us an excuse. There may be a reason that may make it more difficult for you at times, but it doesn't excuse any of us as fathers. Be open, be accountable, be willing to continue as a father. Fix the mistakes. We all make mistakes. You'll hear this plenty of times on the podcast. We all make mistakes. That's a part of being human. But we don't have to stay stuck in our mistakes. We don't have to let those mistakes define us. Now, what I'm going to share with you over the next few minutes before we go is I wrote a letter to my dad from 3 different time periods of my life. And really, all 3 letters really signify or show how important fathers are in every stage of our life, regardless of what we're going through. And so I encourage you, I would love to hear your letters. If you could write a letter to your dad from the ages between the ages of 4 to 12, what would you say? And then from 13 to 26, what would you say? And then from 26 to whatever age you are now. I would love to hear what those letters sound like. You can email that to let'sapplywisdom@gmail.com. Let'sapplywisdom@gmail.com. And you don't have to put your name, but I'd love to share it because I think it will really help the perspective of so many individuals, daughters and sons, but it certainly will help in the perspective of fathers. Sometimes we may not know or understand how impactful we are. So I'll start it off. Here we go. So tonight, we'll see how far I get. But this is from ages 4 to 12. My letter sounds like this. Dear Dad, I really think you're awesome and pretty cool. I often watch you play the piano and I'm trying to figure out, how do you play so many keys at once? Like, it looks like you're doing 10 million things at one time. But I really, really would like to play the piano like you one day. Dad, I noticed that you're not around too much anymore. Is it something that I did? Are you upset with me? Did I make you angry? Why are you not around as much anymore? It's not the same. Dad, I have a track meet coming up, and I'm really excited for you to be there. I want to see you, I want you rather to see me win. I think I could beat everybody, but I really, really hope you're there. Dad, you missed my race. I'm really upset. I'm really mad with you. I don't understand why you can't be around like you used to. I hate this. I don't even understand why it's even necessary for you to be around anymore. You never show up. You come when you want to, but when I need you, you're not there. I really, really don't like this. I really, really hate this. At this point, I just think it's better if you just stay where you are and I stay where I am. This sucks. So that's my letter from the ages of 4 to 12. Now, I was going to share the other two with you, but I'll wait till next week. Bum, bum, bum. That's right. You got to come back. Next week, I'm going to share with you my letter from the ages 13 to 26. And then the final letter I wrote my dad, which is up to present day. Present day. I'm 39. I'm about to be 40 this year. But really, in every stage, my dad was very, very significant. He was connected to everything I did, whether good or bad. He was. So I'll share that with you next week. And I love it to hear from you. So again, email let'sapplywisdom@gmail.com. I would really, really love to hear your letters. If you love to share, be brave enough to share and help someone else's perspective. And most of all, help fathers. They need to know and understand that they are important, they are necessary, and we need them around. Before I go, again, I want to say it first here. May 12th is coming up. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. I love you. We love you here at the Murphy's Law Podcast. We appreciate all you do, and you are absolutely necessary and needed. Join me again next week. I encourage you to invite somebody else. All the fathers you know, all the men you know, all the women you know, everybody, all the families. Tell them tune into the Murphy's Law Podcast, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm gonna have a panel of men, and we're going to be discussing some very candid things about manhood, about fatherhood, about being husbands. And I believe we're going to get better from it. We're going to get wisdom and we'll be able to apply it. And I'll read part 2 and 3 of Letters to My Dad, okay, from my adolescent teenage years, and then, of course, my adult years. And I want to hear yours too. Until next week, I really love you. Let's apply wisdom and love on your mothers this weekend. And always let your dad know he's important. Fathers, you are important. You are necessary. Be present, be active. And that's it. I'm out. Good night. Enjoy your nights. Share this and please subscribe to the podcast. Again, if any of you get your podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, please subscribe to the Murphy's Law podcast. I would definitely greatly appreciate your support. For my live audience, I love all of you. I appreciate your sacrifice and your time. Good night until we meet again.